And this applause is the beginning of the beating of our identity. In this meeting of the drums of the ALBA-TCP countries, a big hand to all of us. Welcome. We are the same. And with this beating of the drum, the symbol of unity among us, we are very honored of enjoying our African tradition and heritage. This is a sample of our creative potential to continue working in this alliance between the peoples of the Caribbean and our America. And we celebrate this first encounter between the peoples, this space for cultural exchange fostered by ALBA-TCP. Let's give a big hand to ALBA-TCP for fostering the encounter of the drummers of the region in order to discuss and to embrace in this single beat. And we need to remember that ALBA is a constant dawn. And this dawn process, let's begin with the beating of the Afro-Venezuelan drum with the Herencia Heritage Group. And here, all of us, we are drummers. We are part of the Afro-Venezuelan traditions. So thank you, ALBA, for making this activity possible today.
Sí, sí, sí. ¿Qué le parece? De moderadora, ahora un aplauso para nuestras queridas
a big hand
damas, mujeres, tocadoras de
to
tambor.
our women drummers.
Fíjense, vamos a hacer un ejercicio rapidito. ¿Sí? Un
Let's
ejercicio rapidito.
make a quick
Vamos a estrenar
exercise.
hoy varias canciones,
We have several
varios
songs
grupos han traído melodías y
There are
temas que
groups
tienen que ver con este
with
encuentro que es
various
inédito.
melodies,
Estamos escribiendo
and this
la
is a unique
historia
event.
del planeta desde el punto de vista ancestral
This
en
is, we
Venezuela,
are writing
donde
history.
los cultores y cultoras,
We see
creadores y creadoras
artists,
nos encontramos
creators.
un punto en común
We are
donde por
meeting
primera vez esto
in
se
this
realiza. ¿A través de qué? Del
world
ALBA.
organizing
Que nunca
this
se nos
through
olvide eso.
ALBA, which
Por
I
eso vamos a
never
tener esta
forget.
canción, y como aquí hay
So,
músicas y músicos, vamos a prepararnos a ver qué
Let's
pasa. Fíjense.
get
La
ready to
letra
see
es, el
what
coro es,
happens.
en los
And
tambores del alba, en los tambores del
so
alba,
this,
suenan los
the
latidos de nuestra
letters
identidad.
is
¿La tiene?
the
Se está
drums of
traduciendo, va a ver, en los
ALBA.
tambores del alba,
The drums
los
of
tambores del
ALBA
alba, suenan los latidos de nuestra identidad.
will
Así
to
que vamos a
be
hacer una palmita,
sounding
chique,
in
taca,
our
taca,
hearts.
chique, chique.
So
Todo
let's
el
see.
mundo, vámonos. Y todos los tambores tienen que sonar
And all the
para tener
drums.
esta canción y que el mundo vea que
So we can
Venezuela
get
es un
this
país
song
de paz,
and the world
donde la
can
única
listen to
forma de
us.
poder llegar y mantener el planeta en equilibrio es el amor, la unión, alianza para vivir.
Union
Sí,
among
sí.
us.
Checa, 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 checa. Todos los tambores
And
sonando.
this is the
Va,
beat.
sí. 1, 2, 3, vámonos.
Yes.
Que suenen los tambores en el alba. Sí, señor. Y fíjense, a pararse a todo el mundo. Vamos a pararnos para que el mundo vea que Venezuela, los países del Caribe,
This way the world will see
Latinoamérica,
that the
somos una
countries
sola
of the
voz.
Caribbean
Estamos
and Latin
unidos, y toda la
America
gente tiene que ver
are
lo
a
que
single
nosotros
voice.
hacemos. Todo el
We are
mundo
joined
aplaudiendo.
and this must be seen in the
Vamos,
whole
todo el mundo,
world.
todo el mundo.
So let's join
Eso es,
with
vamos.
your applause
Y bailamos, fíjense.
and let's
Manos
continue
arriba,
dancing.
aquí.
Please
Sí,
raise your
trabajo,
hands.
Manos arriba, sí señor.
Raise your
Cuando
hands,
usted quiera,
everyone.
1, 2,
Master,
3,
whenever you want.
¿Sí lo tenemos? ¿Seguimos? ¿Tienen? ¿Sí? ¿Lo tienen? ¿Lo contamos? 1, 2, 3.
So now, 1, 2, 3.
¿Sí? Suenan los latidos de nuestra identidad. En los tambores del alba. En los tambores del alba.
Suenan los latidos de nuestra identidad.
replicando, los pueblos unidos, vamos avanzando. Que suenen y que suenen, sigan replicando, los pueblos unidos, vamos avanzando. Sí, todo el mundo, vamos. Yo, palmita.
Suenan los latidos de nuestra identidad.
Todo el mundo, el alba se pone de pie ante el mundo. Sí, señor.
Suenan los latidos de nuestra identidad.
Aquí se están escuchando los pueblos unidos y nuestros tambores, mira, están sonando. Aquí se escucha este pueblo, mira, están unidos y en los tambores siguen aquí sonando.
En los tambores del alba, en los tambores del alba,
sí, señor.
Suenan los latidos
Todo el mundo.
de nuestra identidad. En los tambores del alba,
Fíjense.
en los tambores del alba,
Parada.
suenan los latidos de nuestra identidad.
1, 2, 3, palmita, vamos, vamos, palmita todo el mundo para que lo vea. Sí. En los tambores
Please, let's
del alba,
join with your
en los
hands.
tambores del alba, suenan los latidos de nuestra identidad.
Tambores del alba, en los tambores del alba, suenan los latidos de nuestra identidad.
Ahí suenan los latidos.
De nuestra identidad.
Suenan los latidos. Una bulla. Mira, Venezuela está unida.
De nuestra identidad.
De los pueblos del alba.
De nuestra identidad.
Alianza para vivir.
De nuestra identidad.
Que lo sepa el mundo.
De nuestra
Se está
identidad.
levantando, se levanta el mundo, se levanta el mundo.
De nuestra identidad.
En los pueblos del alba, en los pueblos del alba, suenan los latidos de nuestra identidad.
En los tambores del alba, en los tambores del alba,
Sí, señor.
suenan los latidos de nuestra identidad.
Guarda el pueblo.
Con bandera de colores venimos
Todo el
todos
mundo.
santiando.
Vamos.
Con bandera de colores
Opa.
venimos todos santiando. Y en el medio de la calle,
Vámonos.
tambores
Bandera.
acompañando. En el medio de la calle, tambores acompañando. Con bandera de colores venimos todos santiando.
Con bandera de colores venimos todos hallamos. Y en el medio de la calle, tambores
Ahora sí,
acompañando. Y en el medio de la calle, vámonos. Tambores acompañando.
Así es que me gusta a mí,
Sí, señor.
como no me va a gustar. Así es que me gusta a mí, como no me va a gustar. Que me suban para el cielo, que me vuelvan a vagar. Que me suban para el cielo, que me vuelvan a vagar.
Con bandera de colores venimos todos sangueando. Con bandera de colores venimos todos sangueando. Y en el medio de la calle, tambores acompañando. Y en el medio de la calle, tambores acompañando. ¡Huepa!
Vamos a ver con las palmas, que dónde están no los veo. Vamos a ver con las palmas, que dónde están no los veo. Para que suene bien bueno, y todos salgan los pueblos. Para que suene bien bueno,
¡Todo el mundo!
y todos salgan
¡Huepa!
los pueblos.
Bandera de colores venimos todos sangueando. Con bandera de colores venimos todos sangueando. Y en el medio de la calle, tambores acompañando. Y en el medio de la calle, ¡upa! Tambores acompañando.
Prepárate, tamborero, que
¡Vamos, una bulla!
Prepárate, tamborero, que aliste este bailador, que en esta vuelta y la otra vamos a trancar el tambor, que en esta vuelta y la otra vamos a trancar el tambor.
Con bandera de colores venimos todos sangueando. Con bandera de colores
¡Sube la bandera,
venimos
sube
todos
la bandera!
y en el medio de la calle.
Un aplauso para San Juan Bautista que viene bajando en el teatro.
Tambores acompañando.
Vamos a ver, tamborero, cómo vamos a quedar. Vamos a ver, tamborero, cómo vamos a quedar. Para que suene sabroso cuando yo salga a cantar. Para que suene sabroso cuando yo salga a cantar.
Con bandera de colores venimos todos sangueando. Con bandera de colores venimos todos sangueando. Y en el medio de la calle, tambores acompañando. Y en el medio de la calle, ay, tambores acompañando.
Y en el medio de la calle,
Tambores acompañando.
tambores acompañando.
Tambores acompañando.
Para que la gente vea
Tambores acompañando.
que los tambores están empezando.
Tambores acompañando. todo el mundo. Lolo es fuego candela, fuego candela, candela fuego.
Lolo es fuego candela, fuego candela, candela fuego.
Ay, Lolo es recibe la bendición de San Juan aquí bendito. Sí, señor.
Fuego candela, candela fuego.
Ay, Lolo es los pueblos del Alba Unido, los pueblos del Alba Unido y el tambor está repicando.
Lolo es fuego candela, candela fuego.
Ay, Lolo, siempre para adelante, mira, nunca se va para atrás. ¡Huevo!
Fuego candela, candela fuego.
Ay, Lolo, mira que vamos para adelante, mira que vamos para adelante con el alba aquí que lleva.
Lolo es fuego candela, candela fuego. Sí, señor.
Los pueblos del alba.
Muchísimas gracias. Bienvenidos sean todos al encuentro de tambores del Alba.
A big, big hand for Herencia Group. A big hand for him, for them. Well, I think the engines are on, and we want to invite our panelists. Jorge Arriaza, Executive Secretary of ALBA-TCP. Casimira Monasterios, coordinator of the Venezuelan Cumbe, Afro-Venezuelan Cumbe. Rosalind Paul, cultural researcher from Dominica. Bona Mbaye, coordinator of the Pan-African Umoja League from Benin. Mighty Gabi, the cultural ambassador from Barbados. So a big hand for our panelists. So, welcome. We're going to listen to our General Secretary of ALBA-TCP, who's going to give us a context of this meeting today.
Buenos días. Good morning. Welcome to Venezuela.
Bienvenidos a Venezuela.
Que vivan los pueblos
Long live the peoples of
Long live
ALBA.
the peoples of ALBA.
I would like to
Decirlo la información que sé que los medios de comunicación
convey
están esperando.
the information the media
Están
are
presentes
waiting
en
for.
este festival
Those who are attending this wonderful cultural exchange festival, but a festival to exchange knowledge, since we're going to listen to research
nuestro origen común
our roots, our common roots, the development of the culture accompanied by those rhythms in each one of the countries, not only of the Bolivarian Alliance, but also, I don't say guests,
la alianza bolivariana es de
because the
todos
Bolivarian
nosotros,
Alliance belongs
porque
to all of
Bolívar
us.
es de todos y de
Bolivar
todas
belongs to
en este
all of
mundo,
us
como
in
parece
this
que
world. These
convocamos
countries
también
have been
para
convened
acompañarnos.
to
Están
accompany
con
us.
nosotros
We have with us
Colombia,
Colombia,
Barbados,
Barbados,
Trinidad y Tobago,
Trinidad and Tobago,
compañeros de Honduras vienen
brothers and
en
sisters
camino,
coming from Honduras. They will arrive soon. And, uh,
Cuba,
and
Bolivia,
Cuba, Bolivia, Nicaragua,
Dominica,
Dominica,
Antigua
Antigua and Barbuda,
San Vicente y las
St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada,
y Santa Lucía.
and St. Lucia.
Por ahí están sonando los tambores.
And we can hear the drums, a skin rhythm from St. Lucia. And from Dominica, the paid butcher drummers. St. Vincent and the Grenadines Drum Foundation. Cuba, the folk ballet of Camagüey. Barbados, Genes with Club. Benin, our Mother Africa present. Benin also present here today. Is Espoir Group. Bolivia, the dissidents. Antigua and Barbuda, Health Gate Steel Orchestra, the Hell's Gate Steel Orchestra. Grenada, Lion Proud Percussion. Also, Trinidad and Tobago, Tite was a falling drumming group, Compa from Haiti, and Benelengue from Colombia. Welcome to all of you. Those who are following us should know that these international groups, accompanying many other Venezuelan groups, are going to celebrate St. John Baptist. They are going to Curiepe, Aragua, La Guaira, here in Caracas, Puerto Cabello, Tapipa, Miranda. They're going to visit all those locations. Well, for 3 days, we'll be gathering on Saturday. We're going to have the St. John traditional ceremonies. And here in this Bolivar Square Plaza, we're going to listen to these drums for 2 days. I wanted to say a few words from my very heart. Mother Africa is mother of humanity. All of us are Afro-descendants. In Africa, gods speak and they rebel through the beating of the drums and the rhythms and the environment they are creating. Drums and the beating of drums, they raise our consciousness, our soul to a unique level, and any other human expression could equal this conscious. In America, the indigenous drum is also a channel towards the sacred, the holy. The drums are warning the beaten resist. In the Caribbean, drums arrived in painful vessels filled with injustice. They even tried to ban drums in some of the Caribbean peoples. Those was illusory. Those imperialist governors who thought they were able to ban and forbid the sons and daughters from Africa to feel and to play the drum. They could not ban the drum. In the genetical code of the Caribbean, in the cultural code of the Caribbean, we beat the heart of Africa. Its sounds, the embrace, the light, the flavors, the smells, the suffering, the joys. and the dream, especially. Every beat of the drum reminds us that we share a single origin. And this origin demands us to understand that we are a single people. Our diversity is our bond. It defines us in unity, not only into the past, but into the today in the present, and will unite us into the future. ALBA-TCP, the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our America, is a heroic creation, is a matrix creation of Chavez and Fidel Castro Ruz.
Nuestros comandantes
Our commanders
crearon el ALBA,
created ALBA, made it possible as created as the drum, because the ALBA is calling us to unite, to understand each other within unity, to care about us, to help each other, to walk together hand in hand.
mucho podemos avanzar
We can do a lot in fostering economic, commercial, political integration, and even social integration. However, if we do not include our essence, if we do not include our heritage, our identities, if we do not know each other, if we do not embrace each other, if we do not sing and dance together, that formal institutional integration will be nothing and will be ephemeral, like a page in the wind. So here we have all the countries that are part and parcel of ALBA-TCP, but also we have countries that have been invited from Africa, from our America, to join us today. Because Alba is the daughter of Simon Bolivar, and Simon Bolivar belongs to all of us. He liberated and united us. Separated, we will be oppressed, dominated, we will be killed, whereas united, we will be us, we will be free. And we will go at our pace and with our rhythm down the path pointed by our own drums that sound with our own hands and they are filled with our own sweat. Alba is like the drum. It reveals us. It makes us rebel against injustice and oppression and demand us to be original and confirm that we were born together, and only together we can be truly happy. In these months, in some regions of Venezuela, we hear a wonderful, syncretic, spiritual celebration of St. John the Baptist with the fires, the bonfire, the devotion, the promises, and the hopes. Brothers and sisters of our America, from the Caribbean and Africa, you will go to Curiepe, La Guaira, Puerto Cabello, and Aragua State, La Vega neighborhood. You will then feel the love of the noble Afro-Venezuelan people that beyond our common roots that sustain us, we are in the peoples of the South, in the global peoples of the South, in the peoples of our America, the Caribbean and Africa. We are roots, the trunk, the flowers, the fruit, and the seed. We are the trees of our forest of humanity. We are a harmonious and perfect unity. And some have tried to divide. However, this defines us, and we will always be the saviors, the tree saving humanity, all of them in the South. Dear brothers and sisters, you can feel that the wood and the skin of our drums is the same around our nations. It's the same wood, it's the same skin, it's the same sound, defining us, making us, uniting us, and make us original, making us free, and together will make us invincible. On behalf of the 10 head of states and government of ALBA-TCP, we invite you to enjoy these coming days, but especially on behalf of one of head of government to have facilitated this invitation, a man to have fought tirelessly first with ALBA-TCP, one of the creators of ALBA-TCP, but then despite his people and despite imperialists with the blockade and sanctions and the attempts to assassinate him, we are talking about President People, President Tam Drum, President Afro President. We're talking about Nicolas Maduro Moros, President of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. Welcome to all of you. Welcome to the homeland of Bolivar, to the homeland of Chavez, the homeland of the spears, the dances, and the drums for unity. Thank you very much and welcome.
Let's beat our drums again to thank him. Thank the words of our Executive Secretary Jorge Arraza, please. And within the beating of the drums, we will give the floor to Casimira Monasterios, National Coordinator of the Afro-Venezuelan Cumba. So let's give an applause to our master, Casimira. Good morning, Maroons. Welcome to this meeting amongst brothers and sisters, united by the tantam that came from Mother Africa, united in this space that I always think about and dream of it as liberator, together in a fraternity, so we can continue moving forward towards that full independence of all of us, so humanity can become even more human. From the drums. What's the meaning of the drums for us? Even when we have tried to make drums part of our folklore of our lives, the drums continue being a musical instrument, the musical instrument of the Afro community. It is a musical instrument that joins us to our deities, our gods. It reminds us of our ancestors. It is the instrument that allows us to harmonize our bodies, minds, and spirits. It is the instrument that liberates us from oppression and any feeling of colonialism. When we are playing the drums, singing, and dancing, we are always free. The oppressing narratives are completely lost from our minds and spirits, and we remind ourselves as human beings. We feel like capable people to move forward and conquer all of our rights and fulfill our duties. So let's always welcome the tam-tam sound of the drums, and let's not forget it is the center of our lives. Thank you very much. Please, let's give an applause and a beat of the drums to our master, Casimira Monasterios. We will now give the floor to our master, Rosalind Paul, cultural researcher from Dominica.
Buenos días. Good morning to all. And celebrate our drums. The drums speak to the sound of the drums, speak to our hearts as a people, our common identity, our resistance. And the drums over the decades speak to the resilience of our people. The beats of the drum, the sound of music is really food to the soul. And so this event brings all our people from the ALBA member countries and the wider Caribbean together for socializing, for sharing our experiences, for sharing our heritage, which we have in common through our African ancestry. We are a proud people. The drums again reflect our pride as a people, and we are a loving, cultural oriented people, and this festival will be evidence of it. So let us all celebrate each other, let us all celebrate as a region through the grace and mercy of Almighty. I thank you.
And with such diversity, we will now move to the Mother Africa. So now let's give the floor to Bona Mamje, coordinator of the Umoja Pan-African League. Good morning. I would like to thank the Bolivarian government of Venezuela, the Bolivarian Alliance of the Peoples of Our America, friends, comrades from Africa, from Latin America, and from the Afro world. I am Bona from Senegal. I am part of the Umoja Pan-African League. So I would like to first thank the authorities of the Bolivarian government of Venezuela and all of those that involved in this process so this meeting could be successful. I think it already is successful. So thank you to Sarah, to Darling, and Paola, who have always been by our side, so our welcome here in Venezuela is completed in the best of conditions. I would like to comment on the political and historical importance of such an event. As a member of a Pan-Africanist organization, it was born as the liberator project of enslaved African peoples. And this was born in a country we called Haiti, who obtained its independence in 1804 through a historical struggle, which also had the decisive support of a man. And we were able to see his statue before entering the theater. He is a hero of not only a nation but our whole humanity, and I am referring to Simon Bolivar. This meeting is continuing with a long history of solidarity between the Venezuelan government and other countries of ALBA and the African continent. That's why between the 60s and the 80s, over 400,000 international volunteers from Cuba were part of the Angolan liberation and also in South Africa and Namibia. We came here to convey our deep gratitude to the countries of ALBA for their contribution to the liberating process of the African continent and the African diaspora. Tomorrow, I will make a presentation on culture and politics, which is called the African Revolutionary Culture amongst resistance and repression. And I would like to pay tribute to an artist, an athlete, a singer, an actor, one of the most important, famous figures in the 20th century. He's a hero whose legacy is still unknown, and I am referring to Paul Leroy Robinson, who was born in 1898 and passed away in 1976. He's an artist that was committed to the struggle to liberate the peoples of Africa, sacrificing his fame, money, and reputation in order to contribute to the liberation of the African countries both in the continent and the diaspora. In 1946, in the framework of a meeting of the Council for African Affairs that African himself created in 1932, he stated that the race is already moving forward and the race between the forces of progress and democracy on the one hand and then imperialism and reaction on the other hand. Africa, with its resources and richness, is always persecuted by imperialists, and that must be defended by anti-imperialists. On the anti-imperialist side, we are affected by the lack of financial resources, influence in international and state affairs, and although the enemy has an advantage in the race, we still can overcome them and win. So we have accepted the invitation of the Bolivarian government of Venezuela and of the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Latin America and the Caribbean because we know that Venezuela and ALBA are one of the more solid and long-standing allies that we can count on. So we came to reaffirm that together we will prevail. Thank you very much.
En la unión está la fuerza. En la unión está
For us is in our unity. Unity is the only way to move forward. That's why we are in such an alliance for life meeting as ALBA-TCP. So let's send an applause that will reach Benin. Everything that we have achieved and the future we have before us. And after the words of our comrade from Benin, let's listen to Mighty Abbey, the cultural ambassador from Barbados, with his musical presentation.
Excuse me. Good morning, everybody. I was told I was going to speak first, then I was told I was going to play first. I'm not sure which one, but I just want to say very quickly, the ALBA is not just an organization. It is the mother of the family of Latin America, Africa, and the Caribbean. And we are gathered here on a most auspicious occasion. I believe this is the beginning of something so big and so brilliant and so wonderful and so loving that generations to come will look at this as the embryo, as the beginning of a unity that the world has never seen. And I want to thank ALBA because we know what ALBA is, but we don't know what it will be. But we know that whatever it is going to be so great that the whole world will praise ALBA in time to come. The Caribbean and Latin America got together with sister Venezuela. Fuel prices were so high, the people mourned and cried. They couldn't buy, they couldn't buy Venezuela. Then from Petro Caribbean, a master plan for all the world to see. Venezuela, then from Petro Caribbean, a plan that saved each land, each country. Oh, oh, oh. Viva Venezuela and Petro Caribbean. Viva Venezuela and Petro Caribbean. Viva Venezuela. She is my neighbor. She is my neighbor. She is my friend. I say, Viva Venezuela and Petro Caribbean. Help me. Viva Venezuela and Petro Caribbean. Viva Venezuela. She is my neighbor. She is my neighbor. She is my friend. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Hugo Chavez then looked into the future and realized oil prices will rise higher. He said that wouldn't do. Here's what I'll do for you. One staple price all the way through. And now he's gone. His memory will live on inside our hearts. A true Bolivarian, Lord, now he's gone. His memory will live on. We love him so. He's our hero. Oh, 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 oh. Viva Hugo Chavez and Petro Caribbean. Viva Hugo Chavez and Petro Caribbean. Viva Hugo Chavez, 'cause he is our hero. He is my hero. He is our friend. And Maduro continues. This is true. Oh, this is true. Maduro continues for me and you. For me and you, for me and you, for me and you. Oh, Viva Venezuela and Petro Caribbean. Thank God for ALBA and Petro Caribbean. Viva Venezuela. She is our neighbor. She is my neighbor. She is our friend.
Let's give a round of applause. Let's hear that applause. That's why he's the cultural ambassador from Barbados. Thank you, Master. Thank you, panelists. We will now invite you to be seated because the reflection and the celebration of the drums will continue. And now we will wait for the musical group from St. Lucia, Skin Rhythm. We will now close this first stage because, as the executive secretary has indicated, we will have more conferences. And while they get ready, we invite you to that space. So now we will give the floor to the musical group from St. Lucia. Drums are the beat of our heart. It's a ritual, it is the beat of our life, liberation and expression. Drums are enjoying. Let's give a round of applause to our comrades, brothers and sisters from St. Lucia. So, with the drums from St. Lucia and everything that has happened in our morning, we officially inaugurate the event Drums of Alba, Beats of Our Identity. Thank you, authorities, masters, to open and inaugurate our activities. We will have a 10-minute coffee break and we will come back with the African presence in our Latin America and the Caribbean. 10-minute coffee break and then we will come back.
Going to have our talk, and each one of you, you have 10 minutes to develop your ideas regarding the African presence in our region. José Marcial Ramos Guedes. José Marcial Ramos Guedes is a writer, Venezuelan writer. Is magister in history, university teacher, has written more than 30 books. Simon Bolivar and the Abolition of Slavery, 1810 1830, and many books on Jose Leonardo Chirinos. He has a vast experience in this topic. So, Professor, you have the floor. We are very happy to have you here. Thank you very much. So, good afternoon. I'm very thankful for this invitation to be able to get in touch with our neighbors from the Caribbean, Central America, South America. As we saw with the various countries represented here today in this marvelous day, and this theater that carries the name of our liberator Simon Bolivar. Well, the topic of my talk is of course, is a vast topic. It is a historical and social topic, and in just 10 minutes, it's difficult to encompass such a broad topic. But I'm just going to give you, in a nutshell, how in Venezuela we've been discussing and studying the process of the slavery, how the African people were subjected in Africa, and then they were sent to this region in the 16th century. And this process, the had to do begin at the beginning with a pearl market in the Cubawa island. The pearl trade was the beginning of this slave trade. There was a lack of scarcity of pearls, and then in the 16th century, 17th century, they decided to shift the trade and start producing food and fostering agriculture. So the enslaved people who came from Africa and those who were born here, they were distributed among various economic activities, agriculture, cattle raising, but also as domestic servers in the house of the owners of the farms. In the 18th century, the so-called Mantuanos, namely the wealthy white people who had political, economic, and social and legal power in alliance with the authorities from Spain, the Spanish authorities. They were in cahoots with them, and they became governors, captains, judges, and have a scheme here. First of all, we have the enslaved trade in the 16th century in Venezuela until the first decade of the 19th century. Then the various African names of the colonial Venezuela, namely the ethnic group that came from Africa to our nation under the Spanish Empire, and then We are also analyzing the geographic distribution of the Afro descendants of the colonial Venezuela. We are trying to analyze how many people arrived, where they were located during the colonial times and after independence. And there we have various figures in the various books referring to this issue. We can find a number of statistics. And then we have the enslaved labor, especially in the case first in the pearl trade and pearl production, collection, but also in the gold mining and copper mining, also were areas where they worked as an in domestic service, but also as handicraft, as also minor labors like holding, building of houses, and so on. Then we studied the various conspiracies, rebellions, revolts of the enslaved people in the 19th century. There were many rebellions during those time. And among those revolts and rebellions that occurred, we have a number of actors, collective and individuals. We have how these enslaved people left, abandoned and the farms, and then a collective number of enslaved people who organized many rebellions. And the most important was the rebellion of Jose Leonardo Chirino, one of the main leaders in May, 10 of May 1795. Based on the historical documentation I've been going through, he not only proposes to abolish enslavement, but also to foment the idea of sovereignty, independence. In this movement, we saw the influence of what the historical events in France and the Haitian situation. Haiti had a major role, the events that occurred in Haiti had a major role in this process of revolt. Jose Leonardo Chirino had the opportunity to travel with the owner of the farm he was working on, and he traveled to the Caribbean islands. And then it is said that he went to Haiti, Curacao, and then he learned about the events in those islands. Therefore, the revolt that he led was no doubt influenced by those events. He went to the Coro Mountains in the Falcone state, and in various places, Curimagua, San Luis, Santa Maria da Chape, and so on. Well, we saw the birth of that rebellion. Of course, the authorities took actions and to push back those rebels, and they punished the rebels, and they were sent to die. They were murdered. So they suffered the consequences of the rebellion. They were heavily punished by the owners of the farms. There were whips used, lashes against them, and subjected to torture. And then We have the participation of the Afro descendants in the process of independence of Venezuela during the battles that started in 1810. And this process lasted for 13 years until 1823, and many Afro descendants, men and women, as participated as soldiers, officers, and they were with Bolivar and Sucre, Piar, General, who was born in Curacao, General Piar, and he helped Bolivar in the Guayana region, and there he led a number of battles that consolidated the independence of Venezuela. And the last significant battle to achieve independence in Venezuela was no doubt 24th of June, namely the Battle of Carabobo. Well, in this battle, the Patriot Army, led by Bolivar and Patriot generals, they beat the Spanish army, the monarchical army, and Pedro Camejo he stood out as a major soldier, but also Mr. Infante, Leonardo Infante, another Afro-descendant who was very active in the process of liberation. And they also fought in that Battle of Carabobo. Of course, we have many publications in Venezuela elaborating on the participation of Afro-descendants in this process of liberation. But then we also have the African contributions in the Venezuelan gastronomy, and linguistically, and the lexic of our language. We have many African words used, and we have the oral and written literature, dance, music, and music instruments, namely the drums. They are key, used in the Afro-Catholic celebrations such as St. John the Baptist, St. Peter. In the near Caracas, we have these celebrations in Guatire and Guarenas, but also have the dancing devils in various locations in Venezuela, and that commemorate the Corpus Christi. Although the date is not the same, it could change from year to year. Sometimes it's in June, sometimes it is commemorated in the in the month of May. Also, we have the plastic arts, the crafts, the sculptures, all, and the various manifestations through dances in various towns in Venezuela, always under the influence of Africa, and we can see these demonstrations today. We are also analyzing the epistemology in the traditional celebrations. We are analyzing them from the anthropological point of view, to say in transculturation, animism, polytheism, and many other phenomena that we study. In Venezuela, we also have the cults of African origins, such as Santeria from Cuba, connected to the Orishas, the African Orishas. We all know that they have a Yoruba origin. The followers of the Palmayombe, those affiliated to Umbanda, was coming from Brazil. Also, a connection with Candomblé from Brazil, but very similar with the Cuban Santeria. We have the voodoo from Haiti in some communities in Haiti. We have a cult, which is a Venezuelan cult, to Maria Leonza, who is the protector of nature, of health, and indeed protected the children. And in the Maria Leonza cult, that is responsible or helps in the upbringing of children, we have also the seven powers, African powers, also part and parcel of the Maria Leonza cult, also connected to the Vikings, various the cohorts, the medic, etc., and many other aspects that you can find in the literature. We have a number of myths, legends, and oral literature. And also, we need to stress the Afro-Catholic festivities such as St. John Baptist, St. Peter, um, Corpus Christi, Tamunange, to pay tribute to St. Anthony of Padua on June the 13th. The Cruz de Mayo, the May Cross, where we have songs coming from the African tradition. We also have the Little Jesus of Curiepe in December. Santa Ephigenia, Santa Iphigenia is another virgin, and Saint Iphigenia was a saint that was born in Ethiopia, perhaps a disciple of Saint Matthew. So in Venezuela, there are many followers of Saint Iphigenia, the first African saint recognized by the Vatican. And in Venezuela, in lexicography, we try to locate the descendants of Africans called Afro descendants. We also say Afro Venezuelans. Also, we use the words black, but never in any discriminatory manner, exclusionary way, as it is regrettably used in sometimes and to portray a negative image. Some authors, however, consider that it is valid to use the word black because it has to do with the color of the skin. But it is not only a matter of the color of the skin, but also we need to bear in mind the cultural manifestations and the concern for national identity, the African identity. Some authors consider that in the African origin, we need to take into account these aspects, and in the anthropological studies and paleontology studies, they say that the origin of the human species is precisely in the African continent. So that's basically what I had to say. Thank you very much.
So now I would like to make the following invitation. If you have any doubts or would like to expand the contributions of panelists, we will then have a musical agenda and then you can approach them and ask any questions. So now from Venezuela we go to Honduras with Roy Arzu from the Pan African Federalist Movement. You have the floor. Thank you very much. Long live Venezuela. Long live Commander Hugo Chavez. Long live President Maduro. The issue I would like to cover, given the freedom I have been given to discuss today, is to quickly reflect our presence and contribution in the subsystems of economy, politics, and culture. I believe the economic structure is no doubt the result of the sacrifice and contributions of Afro descendants in these subsystems in the last 500 years. I am convinced that developed countries, recognized by humanity today, base their richness on the blood and sacrifice of our ancestors, our black, Afro-descendant, and African ancestors. And that's why I am part of the people who have directly stated this in the last 45 years. If we were able to give our lives and blood so other countries would be rich, we now have to fight in order to share that richness in a reciprocal manner by first demanding the fair reparation from rich countries so they give us back part of the sacrifice we gave them. Secondly, once we have manifested our territoriality, because we have existed before the independence of all countries in Latin America and the Caribbean, and that we inherited the sacrifice of the first independent country in Latin America, Haiti. And beyond recognizing or thanking them for the support they gave so other countries could also be independent, instead, Haiti has been condemned to extinction. It's being erased. So that's why we must defend the self-determination of that country that helped us so much. There's no country in Latin America in which there weren't a brother from Haiti that supported the independence. And I think the only country that openly recognizes that is the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. Because all countries had Haitian brothers defending independence. We are witnesses of that contribution in each of our countries, and in this case, I will speak on behalf of Honduras. There was a battalion accompanying the great liberator friend of Simon Bolivar, Francisco Morazan. There was a battalion commanded by Juan Francisco Bulnes in Garifuna. And in the first constitution, there was a recognition to that contribution, but it has been now been erased from our constitution. It is ignored by our history, and those that are recognized as independent, of those who defend independence, have no Afro descendants there. So that's why we are demanding to have a decoration of Juan Francisco Bulnes as national hero. So that's why I would like to ratify that for black people in Latin America and the Caribbean, we're not going to be given anything freely. It's not going to be a gift. We must struggle. In terms of economy, in the case of Honduras, we are 17% of the population. Afro descendants represent 17% of the population. And by 1992, I conducted a study. We were contributing at around 17% of foreign currency that entered the country. And the importance of foreign currency in this case, joining the efforts of Afro descendants in Honduras adds up to 38%. But the struggle of our peoples is only seen in we being expelled from our lands, because we have inhabited the lands of the great biological reserves of Latin America, where we have the main elements that will be fundamental for economic growth in the coming years. That's why our leaders are assassinated, we are expelled from our lands, and we are forced to be economically dependent and live in poverty. And despite that, we continue contributing to those economies. Unfortunately, I must mention that economic aspect. I think that if we don't have an economic impact in our countries, it will be very hard to have an political impact, because the structure of democracies are mainly dependent. Although we are called independent countries, but with the idea of fighting for our self determination. But when we go to the practice, to our realities, this is not true, because those who make political decisions in our countries come with foreign mandates that do not belong to our political structures, political structures. Our political parties are mainly colonialist and defend slavery, and within those political parties, there's a master who makes the decisions, who buys the will of its members, and the role of our Afro descendant societies in the framework of those political subsystems is a role in which we must either alienate with the structure of politics, or we will not have the opportunity of participate in political spaces. So I think at the end of the day we do alienate, and we have other brothers and sisters that take popular positions, but does not necessarily translate into growth and development for our communities. within the economic transformation that could at least address the poverty in our peoples, in political reforms that could at least allow to have a balanced participation that's inclusive and coherent according to our own needs, along with our worldview as Afro-descendant peoples. There's a historical debt that leads us to continue struggling so we can achieve those reforms. The example of Honduras, I was a nominee to the presidential elections, and when they realized what was the narrative and the message of an Afro descendant that didn't follow the message of those who were the owners of the capital, the reaction from the political system was to give political participation openness in all political parties that were existing in the country. And this leads us to the following element. Since they do not allow to create political parties that belong to the black people, then they divide us in order to incorporate our members into other political parties, in which the message of the owner of that political party leads those who arrive to those positions have to first respond to the interests of the political owner. If you divide, you will prevail, as the saying says. In other countries, it is believed that black population is a minority, which means that it will be very hard for us to have the opportunity to politically fight to defend our own benefits according to our worldview and our real needs. They are already telling me that I have to finish. And I would like to conclude by saying this. Solidarity acts, as we have been witnessing in this event, are part of our historical need because the peoples of Latin America and the Caribbean united are stronger. I think Commander Hugo Chavez led us the basis, the foundation for this unity when he told us to unite in order to share richness, efforts, and struggles based on our own interests, our own according to our worldview. He taught us that the self determination of the peoples must be built by the peoples themselves. And we must unite in order to defend it because the giant in the north has completely filled its interests based on its own needs. So there's a long way ahead, and I invite you to walk together through that path. Thank you very much, and I send you a fraternal hug from Honduras.
Que vive el alba.
Long
Que
live
vive el
Alba.
alba. Justamente este es el espacio
This is precisely the space for the Alliance for Life. And if we don't unite, we will not eradicate racism, structural racism. One of our fundamental voices in Venezuela that defends this struggle is Casimira Monasterios, to whom we will give a round of applause. And when we join ourselves, there are still many pending tasks, but in order to advance, we are here together in this reflection that will allow us to move forward and continue adding up forces once we have an equal society. Thank you very much, and thank you very much to Master Jose Ramon Marcial because he has to leave. I apologize with Master Raymond Weeks because Professor has to leave. We will now move forward to you, but our master has to leave because in Venezuela we usually have simultaneous actions. We are here in the drums of ALBA, but we currently are hosting the National Congress of History, and that's why the master must leave because he has another presentation at 2 p.m. So let's give a round of applause to Jose Marcial Ramos. So, because he gave us a summary of African presence and how that has evolved into the Afro-Venezuelan aspects of our day-to-day life and the knowledge and intellectuality. Thank you very much, Master. We will now give the floor to Raymond Weeks, to St. Lucia with the cultural researcher.
You'd realize that our ancestors kept the memory. They kept the memory of those before them. And how did they keep those memories? They kept those memories through the rituals, through the songs, through the prayers, through the drumming. They kept the memory of their ancestors through the arts. And by keeping that memory alive, they were able to keep as well the spirits of the ancestors and the spirits of Africa. And we being here today, we have to recognize that this exercise is just such an exercise. We are honoring and we are keeping alive the memory and the spirits of our ancestors, of those who refuse to give in to the colonial discourse that
they were inferior, that they were ugly, that they were not entitled to equality. They refused to give in to that discourse. They persisted in their belief and in their expressions that they were equal as any other race and any other human being. But how did they go about sustaining the arts? They did it through the rituals. And the rituals not only helped them keep the identity, but the rituals enabled them to consolidate their power to wage war against the system that were oppressive and discriminatory. So if we go back to Haiti to 1791, we'd see that Bookman, who was a high priest, born in Jamaica, went to the mountains. He was a voodoo high priest, and he started the ritual, the voodoo ritual there, that brought together rebel slaves who themselves were determined to destroy the plantation system in Haiti. And that's how it started. Through that ritual, that major revolt in 1791, after that ritual, then the rebel slaves descended upon the plantations in Haiti, and that changed the entire course of history, because after that, the world was not the same. After that, it was the beginning of the end of the plantation system in the entire world. So through the rituals, because that ritual, that voodoo ritual there, we would have practiced our arts. It would have been drumming, it would have been chanting, it would have been singing, it would have been praying, it would have been honoring the spirits of the ancestors, honoring that spirit of the ancestors, and imbuing ourselves with that spirit that gave us the courage and the motivation and the determination to destroy such an oppressive system. And throughout the Caribbean, we have those rituals. We have those rituals. In Haiti, we had the voodoo ritual. In Cuba, we have the Santeria. And it's the same thing. When the Santeria is practiced, they too are practicing their arts. They too are honoring what they learned from their grandmothers, what they learned from their grandfathers. They're honoring the art of the drum. They're honoring the art of the dance, of singing. They're practicing those rituals. They're consolidating their power. They're harnessing their group identity. And they're claiming and maintaining their space and their freedom to be who they are, to be themselves, to resist the colonial discourse that they should forget what it is to be African, resisting that and freely being who themselves, honoring the memory of their ancestors, their grandmothers that they loved, their grandfathers that they loved, who were black and who themselves would have been honoring the motherland. And we come right across and we see the same thing happening with the Shango in Trinidad. Another ritual where the yard is kept and the arts are practiced. And in St. Lucia, where I'm from, we also had the Kele ceremony that survived for a very long time. And even if the ritual itself might not be intact, but the arts remain through the drumming, through the chanting, through the songs, through the prayers, etc. So the persistence of the descendants of Africans in the Caribbean to maintain their identity, to claim their space, we owe to the rituals in the Caribbean. So if we want to recognize the presence of Africa in the Caribbean, we look at those rituals and we will see Africa in those rituals. We will see the spirit of our ancestors. However, the presence of Africa is also very much present in our music. The basis of our popular music now, the reggae, the calypso, the salsa, the basis of that music, the foundation lies in the folk music of the Caribbean. The reggae developed out of the mento. The calypso developed out of a similar type of music. If you study the folk musics of the Caribbean, you look at the folk musicians, whether they're from Jamaica, whether they're from Cuba, from St. Lucia, Trinidad, what would you see? You would see the drum as a focal, an important, a significant, essential instrument, both in terms of its physical presence and the care that is given to the drum, but also because of the rhythms. If you look at the old, you'd see it's old black men, yeah, with the baha, yeah, with the banjo or kotro. You'd see the drum, you'd see the shak, you'd see the tibwa. It is out of this foundation that the reggae that is popular and taking over the world now, it is out of this foundation, the calypso, out of this foundation that the reggaeton and that the salsa that is so, it is out of this foundation, the foundation of these old Afro descendants who kept the music alive, who kept the folk music. It is out of this that this music has become so popular now and is taking over the whole world. So you see the persistence of the culture of the descendants of Africans in the Caribbean has been paying off. It has been so successful because it's impacting the world through the popular culture. And that also happens through the languages of the Caribbean. The colonial languages that were imposed upon us, the Dutch, the Spanish, the French, all these languages that were imposed upon us, we learned them, we know them. I'm speaking English now. We know them. However, we have kept the indigenous languages that we created out of the structure of the West African languages. We've kept our Creole. Moi, c'est Jean set l'ici. C'est là moi sorti. This is a line from Derek Walcott, Nobel laureate from St. Lucia, who is a master of the English language, but who retained a love and retained the cadences and the poetics of the Creole language. Moi, c'est Jean set l'ici, c'est ça moi sorti. And the Creole, the Haitian Creole, is now taught in universities in the United States. The Creole spoken by Martinique and Guadeloupe and St. Lucia, you hear all over the world. So even though this Creole language was ostracized, even if they sought to destroy the Creole language and they sought to prevent us from speaking it, the persistence, our persistence in honoring our grandmothers who spoke that language, our grandfathers, our ancestors, our persistence in singing their songs, in praying in their own language, that persistence has enabled us to claim a place universally in the whole world. Because when I go to New York, I am happy to hear a Haitian lady walking and speaking her language. And I'm happy to start a conversation with her. And the same would happen anywhere in France, in England. Be happy to speak with them. And you can say the same thing for Papimento, and for Jamaican, and for the other nation languages, as Edward Brathwaite, the late Edward Brathwaite from Barbados, would term it, the nation languages. So through our languages, we've also maintained the presence of Africa in the Caribbean. And what of our theater and our dance? It is the same. The theater of the Caribbean is really a total theater. It is a total theater. The theater of the Caribbean is a theater that incorporates dance, that incorporates music. It is a total theater that incorporates the folk culture of the Caribbean. So the most successful of our playwrights in the Caribbean, our theater artists, are those who have recognized that and who have brought these elements onto the stage. So when you go to see a play that is truly a Caribbean play and is successful, you're not going to sit through dialogue from beginning to end. But within the drama, you will have spaces that engender call and response. You'll have spaces for the folk dances. You'll have spaces for our music. And why does that happen? that happens again because of the persistence of the folk culture in the Caribbean. The folk culture in the Caribbean resisted the efforts by the colonizers to destroy the rituals. So even when the rituals became fragmented, they were not totally destroyed. So you'd find that Kumina from Jamaica, so many elements from Kumina from Jamaica would find themselves even in the theater, in An Echo in the Bone by Dennis Scott. The folk culture from St. Lucia, the La Wars and the La Marguerite, would find themselves in the plays of Roderick Walcott, of Derek Walcott. The folk culture from Trinidad and Caribbean and Tobago, the Calypso, would find itself in the theater of Royal Gibbons, etc. So the landship from Barbados would find itself in the theater of the Rastaman. I'm forgetting his name now. Gabby, can you help me? My Bajan friends, the Rastaman who, Winston Farrell, right, House of Landship. So even the theater of the Caribbean, the folk culture that has been sustained and maintained by the descendants of the Caribbeans, of Africans, would find itself in the theater of the Caribbean. So the persistence of Africa in the Caribbean is strong, and it has to continue. And our exercise is a way, and we have many young people here, is a way of ensuring that that legacy goes on. Perhaps the biggest expression of popular culture that comes from the Caribbean is our carnival. And our carnival now is no longer just restricted to the geography of the Caribbean, but the Caribbean diaspora has taken it to the United States, to Europe. And it is distinct from the European carnivals. It is a Caribbean carnival. And why is it so? It is so because when carnival started in the Caribbean, it started because we realized that the masters in their free up times were having their balls in their great houses and so on, having their mask balls and all fancy things. And we decided that we were going to practice our masquerades in our yards. And then we took it to the streets too. And these masquerades, through the Canboulay experience, these masquerades is what infiltrated and creolized and transformed and changed the European carnivals, and that made our carnivals, the Caribbean carnivals, that it is today, and that we see in so many different parts of the world, and that the whole world is attracted to. So the persistence of Africa in the Caribbean is really a tremendous cause for celebration. Celebration of our ancestors, celebration of ourselves, a recognition of our power, a recognition that we have to maintain our self-confidence and persist in being ourselves, in expressing the culture of our people, of the descendants of Africa in the Caribbean. Thank you.
Gracias.
Well,
Maestro Raymond.
thank you.
La persistencia de África
The
en el Caribe.
persistence
Hay que
of
asegurar
Africa in the
que permanezca
Caribbean.
en el
We need to
tiempo.
ensure that this
Esa es nuestra
continue to be
misión.
so. This is
Perpetuar,
our mission, to
continuar
perpetuate,
nuestros saberes
to
ancestrales
continue with the
en ese tiempo.
ancestral
Por ejemplo, hace
knowledge.
rato antes de comenzar
Before
la sesión, esta
we
sesión,
started this
estaban
session,
unos tambores del estado Yaracuy.
I heard
Estaban haciendo el
the
sangueo.
drums of
Para los
Yaracuy
invitados
with the
internacionales,
sangueo,
estamos en la época, en la víspera de San Juan Bautista.
because
Entonces,
we
ese
are
tambor,
a
ese
few
recuerdo
days
permanente,
before
esa devoción que va en el
the
tiempo.
St.
Y
John
así, esa presencia de África en el Caribe es permanente,
the
es
Baptist. So
el
the
tiempo
presence
presente,
of
y así seguirá.
Africa is always
Hemos
present
como
among
varios
us.
anuncios.
We have
El
several
primero, quiero mandarle un abrazo
news.
a los compañeros
First,
del Estado Carabobo,
I would like to
Identidad
send
Cultural
greetings
Carabobo. Un
to the
aplauso.
Carabobo people.
Cuando hicimos el recorrido, los que estamos presentes, fue una pequeña omisión, pero
We
somos
went to
muchos, somos
Carabobo.
casi 400 que estamos compartiendo en este
400
encuentro de los tambores del
people
ALBA. Entonces, bueno,
are
ese es
sharing in
lo
this
segundo,
celebration
que
of
ya
the
estamos
drums of ALBA.
próximos a,
And
a irnos a la Plaza Bolívar.
about to
Sin
leave
embargo,
to
vamos a
the
hacer lo siguiente.
Bolivar Plaza,
En esta continuidad,
but
vamos a la
in
siguiente
order to
mesa,
ensure
que es
continuity,
el
we are going to move forward to the next topic,
Gracias, maestros,
woman
por
drum. Thank you,
dejarnos tarea y
masters,
seguir labrando por
for
la erradicación del
giving
racismo
us
y por
this
seguir
message,
cultivando nuestros saberes.
and let's assure that we can continue cultivating our culture.
Vamos a darnos 5 minutos. ¿Les
Just
parece?
5 minutes so we can continue with the next session. And in this occasion, we're going to discuss the uh, the topic on the women drum. And then we continue with the celebration in the Bolivar Square. So we should be back in 5 minutes. And long live Alba, the drums of Alba. And warm greetings, hugs to all of you. So we should be back in 5 minutes. Thank you very much. After talking about the African presence in our region, we're going to talk about women and drums. At the end of this discussion, we're going to give you the technical and logistic detail on about launch. So now we're going to discuss the role of women in the drum tradition. And Medi Ugueto will be here. She's about to arrive. Thank you. Welcome. Welcome to our sisters, the Elewa women drum and the folk movement of Camagüey. So, women drum. What does it mean, woman drum? Well, it's the participation, the quest for gender equality. We are going to discuss about the role of women and drums. Our brothers and sisters from Yaracuy, are they here? No, I think they left. They are not here. Okay. We want to. We had five drummers from uh, Yaracuy and San Lucia. You cannot leave. You cannot leave now. We are going to talk about us precisely. Why? I think they need to do a sound test. It's a pity they have to leave because they are drummers. We have men and women, of course, but this time we're going to have the view world of women. The worldview of women, it's important today. So let's start this discussion on the role of women in drums, and Mrs. Thompson is the first one. We are working together in the Heritage Woman Drum. So we are going to give the floor to Even Thompson is the researcher and the drummer.
Buenas tardes
Good
con todos.
afternoon to all of you.
En principio debo decir que estoy absolutamente conmovida
I'm extremely
por
moved
siento que estoy
because
en mi primer launch.
I feel I am
Absolutamente
among brothers and
agradecido por todo
sisters.
corazón a
I
todos mis
feel
colegas
like we are all brothers and
por lo que
sisters.
se ha hablado en la mesa anterior.
Regarding what was
Creo que es
discussed on the last
se ha hablado de
session,
identidades
and the origins, African origins, and the colonial ideas imposed upon us. And that is marvelous that we be able to preserve the universal language of drums.
digamos que el ser afro está
To
dentro de
be
nosotros
Afro-descendant is part and parcel of our
y esa
soul.
barrera que nos ha
And
bloqueado
those barriers
nos
that
permite
are
comprender.
imposed are trying to ignore our history.
Yo, digamos, con este color que tengo, que me da
With
apariencia
this
afro,
physiognomy,
he
this
estado, me la he conseguido
color, I've
porque
been
llegué a los lugares
struggling
que quería
because I finally reached the places I had to reach. One of them is the drums through the school heritage and woman drum. Together with Monica Mancera, we are together in these groups. But before, I didn't recognize very well my Afro origins. Through percussion, I understood where my place lied, and since then,
digamos, han pasado 5 o 6 años.
5, 6 years have elapsed, and there's been a constant learning. I didn't get here aspiring to be the musical director of a woman drum group. No, on the contrary, I was there because I was needy. I had to play an instrument. I loved percussion all my life, and then I. I got there and then I wanted to learn, and then in learning I met my roots. And in this process,
digamos que me he encontrado y se fueron juntando mujeres que tenían las mismas
women
necesidades que yo,
with my
muy
same
similares.
needs coming from various
Y poco a
different
poco
places, we met, and progressively we became what we are today.
la Ivonne de ese momento
The Yvonne of
no
that
pensaba en
time
escribir
didn't think about writing
musical
or composing
para el tambor,
any music
la
for
utilización
drums
del tambor. Eso era su
to
ritmo
be played with
venezolano
drums, to
para
use the
decir,
Afro
para
Venezuelan
expresar,
rhythm to express through words a feeling.
digamos que una de las cosas más importantes
So,
es ese reconocimiento de esa
this
identidad que se
identity,
logra
the recognition of the identity, is essential when you play the instrument.
ser directora musical
To be musical director
digamos, una formación continua, hay mucho que me falta,
means
mucho
a continuous training. I ignore a lot yet. However,
de, de
my
responder
obligation is
a lo que
to
ustedes como instrumentos,
respond
que la gente lo
to
puede escuchar, que la
what
gente
I
lo puede
do
oír, pero sobre todo
and to
disfrutar
what
cuando lo hacen
people listen and what people
porque
can feel while
la
they
música
listen to my
finalmente lo que
music and to
sana,
the drums, because
no
music
estamos
is
hoy,
soul.
son puras almas
We are
reunidas
souls gathered
expresando
here today who
nuestro,
convey
nuestra identidad
the
afro,
identity, the Afro
nuestros
identity,
saberes,
our
nuestras
knowledge,
artes,
the art
nuestras
that we have
actitudes.
inside. All this is conveyed through
Entonces
the
esa es la
instrument,
universalidad
and that is why
de lo que hacemos aquí.
this is a universal process, and we are in the universal
Me
activity.
sorprende que antes de eso la única referencia que damos en
Before
Venezuela
this, in the past, the only reference we had in Venezuela playing drums were the colleagues from Elewa, and a big hand to our sisters from Elewa.
y nada, comenzó como esa semillita
Well, it started like a small seed, you see,
de todas esas mujeres que les comenté y muchas de ellas
and many of
digamos que
those
sus
women,
inicios era a través de las
they
eh, digamos como para
began
los eventos feministas
in
digamos
the rallies to protect the women's rights. Manuel Armando Moreno, our master teacher, he's been a relentless fighter to um, help us to learn, and for him and for us, it is truly amazing that we became this group. Some of our the friends have left, they are no longer here, or they are elsewhere, but they're still with us. But there is an energy convening this group that persists, create, and also commit mistakes. But what we do is to tell story, and when women tells and women telling stories, as a matter of fact.
no es que no hemos tenido la posibilidad ni la
Now,
oportunidad
it does not mean that women did not have the possibility to share before, but normally in it, only men regularly play drums. So it is now that we can do so as well. But regularly, drums are played by men. But we have learned that drums is the tam-tam, as Casimira said. The tam-tam are the beat of your heart. It's the beating of your heart of our mothers is the first thing we hear when we are little babies, and we listen to our hearts beat, and that's beating is union, is love. Therefore, I want to call upon women, all women here, drummers, to believe in them. That is possible to play drums. It is possible to have the drums between your legs. It's wonderful to feel in your hands and to express through your hands. As Manuel Moreno said, we can tell who we are through the drums. And in this fashion, we can then start making sound poetry, written poetry. So it is a construction, a continuous construction of the soul to play the drum and to express us as women. We don't want to play stronger than men. We don't want them to think that we are stronger. No, no, no. We only want to express what we have inside and use the drum as a tool. So, my call is for you not to be fearful. We don't know where we are heading and where we are getting, but we are going to encounter ourselves. I remember that during the pandemic, I couldn't attend classes. I couldn't play the drum. And I remember I talked to my master and said, I need the drum. Those times were very harsh, were difficult. And I thought that the only way for me to encourage myself, to uplift my soul, was the drum, was music. And therefore, we found what we call the thread of my path, to be father and mother of my own hour. So we spent hours, months, during the period of the pandemic, the whole period, playing at a distance. So I was playing and recording an audio, and then that became poetry. And then at the end of the pandemic, when we could meet again, I'm sorry, I want to welcome the fourth speaker who has just arrived. We only have 5 minutes. Oh, I'm speaking for 5 minutes already. Oh, come on. Okay, so I don't have much to say. Well, at the end of the pandemic, after the pandemic, it was wonderful to meet again with my colleagues and to understand that I was in the place that could protect me and where I find peace. And I understood that I had improved in the execution, and my spirit was renewed. The drums has given me precious gifts, and I thank my master, my teacher, my friend Monica Macera. In January, I had the opportunity to go to Africa with maybe Ugeto together, because it would have been impossible for me to get there without woman drum had not given me the possibility to play the drums. So this has given me this huge opportunity to go to Africa. So again, I invite you to play the drums as often as you want, and transform this in poetry, poetry coming from your soul. Thank you very much.
Let's defend gender equality, elimination of stereotypes, and to leave no one behind. And I refer to the 23rd Agenda of the UN. Let's expand this invitation. There's nothing impossible, but we do have to establish a working path. We must do it ourselves. It does not happen magically. So now let's move to Sixela Machado from the female group from Elegua Music Group. Here we can see that we are more women, and on June 23rd, our sisters from the Elegua group, sorry, June 21st, our sisters from the Elegua group will be having their presentation. And so welcome Sixela and all of our love towards the Elegua music group. Good afternoon. It is a pleasure for the female music group Elegua representing women today in this panel, drum women, because when this project started, many people didn't believe that it was going to transcend in time. Because here in Venezuela, women, there's usually competition amongst women. And my father, who is the creator of our group, Alexis Machado, people told him that it was not going to be a prosperous group because women only gossip, but we can now say that women are protagonic, but this revolutionary process has also vindicated us as women in all scenarios, not only in the drums. So the revolutionary process has vindicated women in Venezuela, and through those women, we represent women in the world. The first group we know as the executors and players of the drums was in Cuba. We had a meeting with the group Ovini Tambor and its sisters. Back then, we already had our music group and we were playing and having our presentations. And we had the opportunity of sharing with them, and that made us a more solid group. It gave us strength. The slogan of my father is that women are not here only to be used as sexual objects, as housewives, because if we analyze from God and the creation, we were created as helpers. If you give sperm to a woman, she makes a baby. If you give flour to a woman, she makes food. If you give a man to a woman, she makes a home. So we are the creation that has a role of creating life. So through the drums, we want to convey the message that we are not only made to be backstage. Because I don't know if you have heard this, but a people usually say that a good man usually has a good woman behind him. And I just want to clarify that we're not here to compete. Women are the original design to be the ideal helper for men and our families. When I knew I was going to talk today, I started to do some research, and I think we can relate drums with our families. Because when we identify our drums, we say that it is a conversation. For example, Kitty Plus, another method which is culo de puya. So in this dynamics, we have a conversation between the drums that represent mother, father, and children because we have a heritage, a legacy that it is given to the future generations. We're not only here to play the drums, but also we are here to be a school, to innovate. And when we sing, I don't know how to explain it or what word to use about the sensation, the feeling when playing the drums, but we're just encountering our true identity because many people live fully. completely lost until they find their identity. Some people live oppressed until they feel free, and playing the drums makes you a free person. If you have been stressed, if you have been a busy day, when we get together, we liberate, we drain all of that stress through the drums, through playing the drums. But music comes from that, and that's a feeling. Afro descendants brother that are here, I don't know if this happens to you, but in my case, I cannot listen to the beat of the drums because my body starts moving by itself. And this is something that we have within our bodies. It is our identity of being Afro, of vindicating women without occupying the position of men. We must respect the spaces and design of women and men. From the position of women, we invite other sisters. I am very pleased that Elegua or Elegua music group can be the example so other women can dare to play the drums, and other groups of women that have been emerged can also be considered within their category of playing the drums. We just want to state that women can actually do it, can actually face any challenge. Women have no limits. If you tell me, let's go there, okay, we go there. Let's do that, well, we will do it. Women have no limits. Our limit is our mind. Maybe some people say, oh, I don't know how to play the drums. Oh, I am white. But no, we all come from Mother Africa, and we are all represented by Mother Africa, our descendants. Because if we go back to history, we are a miscegenation, but it is wonderful to be a woman, part of this Afro descendancy, in which we can make the difference anywhere we go to. Because there are 1,000 white women, but once a black woman arrives, the party has started. We make the difference, and we incentivize the blackness identity that some white women could have inside them, and they could say, oh, if they can do it, we can also do it. So my intention today is to convey my gratitude and to express how great it is to have our brothers join together in harmony with the drums of the world, the ALBA drums. We have no limits. And I would also like to talk about migration, because today in Venezuela we are being an example in the world through the drums by both men and women, because now in Miami they celebrate the day of Saint John, and that was not celebrated before Venezuelans arrived to Miami. So this is happening because of a purpose. We needed to expand ourselves throughout the world, and God allowed us to go to other countries so they would know the culture of Venezuela in the world. Thank you very much. The drums free us, and we can go beyond taking care of our families. So, this is a sample of our freedom. We can overcome stereotypes. And in that sense, we will now give the floor to Geraldine Gallardo from the folkloric ballet. She's a singer and dancer.
Cuando se habla de mujer afrodescendiente,
When we talk about Afro-descendant women in Cuba,
en lo que vino desde eso,
we
la afrodescendencia que tenemos todas, como les
think
decían las hermanas.
about the
Esto
Afro-descendants and the identity
porque
we
en la
have.
lengua yoruba,
In
Ija,
the
que es el
Yoruba
nombre que el
language,
tambor más grande y Dios preponderante,
Ija, which is the
significa
biggest
madre.
drum for us,
Madre, como bien decía
the meaning
María,
of that word is mother.
tambor,
And that's the
tambor es
word, the
vida,
name of a
tambor es
drum.
alegría,
So
como
that's
somos las
what she
mujeres.
was explaining.
Tambor es deseo, es
Drums are
elegancia,
live,
es ser
are
fraterno.
life, are elegant,
Y
are
las
fraternity.
mujeres
And
afrodescendientes han
Afro-descendant
acompañado
women have
todo el
accompanied
proceso
the
histórico
historical
de Cuba,
process of Cuba.
que estuvo siempre involucrada en las luchas de
We were always
independencia.
involved in
Hemos
independence battles.
somos guerreras
We
incansables.
are
Hemos estado
tirelessly
acompañando
warriors.
siempre a los hombres,
We have
pero
always
también siendo
accompanied men,
protagonistas
but we have
de
also
muchas
been
hazañas en tanto en
protagonists
Cuba como en
of
Latinoamérica.
different
Porque
milestones
podemos hablar en
both in
Cuba
Cuba
de
and
Esclava
Latin
Carlota,
America. In Cuba, we could talk about the slave
Esclava Carlota se
Carlota,
dejó manipular por nadie
and
y
she
hizo la
never
operación
allowed the
Cibao
manipulation from anyone.
en Angola, se
When
le
there
llamó
was the
Operación Carlota
operation in
en homenaje
Angola,
a
they
esas dos
call it
mujeres que
Operation Carlota because of her,
fueron
because
símbolo de las
she
cadenas,
symbolized
las cadenas de la
breaking the
esclavitud.
change, the
Y las
chains
mujeres ha sido
of
un hito
slavery.
fundamental.
And
Siempre se
women
les ha dado
have
al
been
hombre
a
igual, porque
fundamental
todas las
icon.
ceremonias religiosas llevan
If
acompañamiento,
you go to
o sea,
religion,
cada
for example,
momento
ceremonies
estamos
have
hablando incluso de
the
religión ahora,
accompaniment of
quizás aquí en
women.
Latinoamérica no tiene tanta expansión, pero en Cuba sí,
In
que es
Cuba, maybe
muy,
in
muy
Latin
lindo
America, you don't know
celebrar
many of these
siempre
rituals,
después de la
but in
presentación de
Cuba,
muchas
it
ceremonias
is
que lleva el
very
símbolo de
a
mujer
very masculine ritual,
entrar
very masculine ceremonies,
acompañada
but
de
they
los
always
hombres.
need to have
Los
the
hombres comprenden
accompaniment of
cuando nace
women.
el tambor, quien levanta el
When
tambor es
drums
una
are
mujer.
born,
O sea, la
those who
mujer es
trace
la que
the
está
drums are
siempre,
women.
siempre en cada momento, en cada proceso
Women are
del
always
tambor, de
present
la
in
ceremonia
all processes
religiosa.
of
En todas las ceremonias quienes lavan las
the
hierbas, quienes
drums
preparan todo.
in religious
De manera
ceremonies,
que yo
those who
sepa,
wash the
por lo menos en
herbs, who
situaciones religiosas,
bring
hemos
the
estado
supplies are
acompañadas
women.
siempre.
Sometimes we
Pero
have been
gracias a
isolated,
Otumare,
but thank you,
hemos
thanks
resurgido
to
y
Otumare,
camino
we have
abierto para que las mujeres africanas
re-emerged and
emancipadas hemos
we
crecido
have grown
demostrando que somos importantes, somos muy
by
importantes.
emphasizing that we are
Y siendo
important.
mujeres,
And
ahora
I am
escuchando
very
a
pleased.
las hermanas,
And
me he
while
dado
listening
cuenta
to
de
my
que el movimiento
sisters, I have
cambia.
realized
Hay
that we have a
muchas mujeres
broad
ya,
movement.
o sea, en el mundo haciendo con el tambor
There's
maravillas, poniéndole las
hundreds of
manos
women
sabrosas al
around the
tambor,
world
porque
playing the drums
el tambor es unidad,
because
porque
that's
como
what the
decía
drums
su
are,
familia,
unity. We are
la
a
familia
family.
del tambor bata,
And the family
la
of
familia
the
de la
bata
percusión
drums,
en
of
general,
percussion in
es algo
general,
grande. Ya en
is
Cuba muchas
huge. In
muchachas
Cuba, we already have
incorporándose a
young
la carrera de
ladies
bachata. Cuando yo hablo de
incorporating
la carrera, hablo de la enseñanza artística,
to
a la carrera de percusión,
artistic
que antes era algo
education
exclusivamente para hombres porque le decían que se
in the
desenvolupara, que
field
solamente
of
se va.
percussion,
Hoy
and
muchas
that
mujeres
used
en
to
Cuba
be
ahora
only for
mismo
men
que
because they
son
would say, oh, you're
graduadas de
going to look
percusión y que hacen
masculine, but now we have many women that have graduated
incorporaron esa
and
enseñanza
have
directa por la
obtained
gente,
their
que es
diploma in
ahora
percussion. I have
mismo
an example, Brenda Navarrete.
ellos de lo más trascienden, o
She is the
sea,
one that
con
has
el proceso de todo
transcended
el
the
tambor bata,
most
y
regarding the
que
culture of
esta muchacha
batat
hermosa,
drums.
con toda su
She's
profesión, no es
such a
floja,
beautiful lady
lo contrario, el
who
tocar el
plays the
tambor le ha
drums,
hecho más
and she
elegante, le
is
ha hecho
not
más fina, le ha hecho
masculine. The
más
drums have
dulce.
made it more beautiful,
Entonces,
more elegant.
ha sido un proceso largo, romper las
So this
cadenas
has
de
been a
violencia.
long
Me alegro
process.
mucho que haya
Breaking the
muchas mujeres
our
también que lo
chains
hacen.
has been
Yo,
hard.
en experiencia
I
personal,
adore that there are
llevo
women
13 años
moving
dando
forward. I
talleres de
have
tambor,
been part of a
graduada, siendo agradecida, soy
folkloric
graduada
group
del
for
Instituto de
13
Arte de la
years.
carrera de folclore.
I
O sea,
graduated
es muy
from the
admirable
High
y que
Institute
tú
of
tengas mucho
Arts in the
conocimiento.
field of
El
folklore.
tambor te abre todo.
and the drums have opened a path for me. I am mainly a singer, but the drums have given me many tools because the drums within music are the heart. Percussion is the heart of music, both Cuban, Venezuelan, and in the whole world. It is the essence of music, and that's why we must talk about the drums. And if we talk about the drums, we must talk about Cuba, and then Latin America, and then Africa, because that's where we come from, and it is the essence of all these elements. I don't usually have many words to share, but I am very pleased to be here. And when I saw so many women playing the drums, it is hard for me to explain the joy I felt. My heart was beating very hard, and I am very proud of them. Thank you to my sisters for their wonderful contribution, and I think you have made a summary of all of my ideas related to the drums, to our project, this event that has been well thought, because indeed they are the beat of our identity, our feeling, our homeland, our hopes, and our future. Thank you very much.
Thank you to the Camagüey folk dance like Anacaona, etc. It's a confluence of women uh, teaching, and we have taken the baton and continue doing so. There is no distinction between men and women. It's just a matter of have the wish and the envy and the desire to play this instrument. It is, of course, a process of learning, but nothing goes against the possibility for you to do this experience. So, Elegua, the um, women drum, and now our professor, master from IVIC, who is here to enrich our debate. Thank you very much. I came running because I was told that there was a huge vibe in this place, so that I was delayed. And I'm want to thank you for this invitation to come. As Monica said, I'm leading the Travadanza collective to research the diasporic dance. And I'm going to speak from this experience where we reflect the enslaved women in the 18th century from love and resistance. So I'm trying to think about this from the standpoint of drums. So drums could be a political device. And this event, we are talking about the ALBA drums, meaning the drums of the alliance of the people of our America. And for me, this is essential. And this could end up in the sort of formula, meaning drums plus alliance plus people's trade. Therefore, we are sacralizing an event that that event that generated the slave trade and make it possible for the descendants of those enslaved people to transform this in a process of an aspect to analyze the slave trade. And so we have millions of people who came, people forcefully. And if we sacralize this encounter after 10 years, the ALBA was created, and to do so from from the drum perspective, it's a renewed sacralization of this union. Those who dance and who play the drum, we know how important is the drum is. When you play the drum, it's a holy moment, it's a sacred moment. If this is so for those who thought about this event, those who are going back to this drum as a symbol of our alliance, well, it should be the same holiness, the same sacredness, and the same projection that started at the end of the 15th century. When you review Alba and its beginnings, well, there were some reference in the letter of Jamaica. However, in my case, I'd rather go further back to Miguel de Bolivar and the first insurrections in Puerto Rico, Venezuela. During this period, I go back to Haiti and the political subjectivity of Haiti as the first black republic. And thinking about the constitution placing the black people at the heart of the citizenship. And I go to Curiepe and the possibility to unite in a single territory black people coming from the whole territory, meaning an alliance that goes beyond the economic crisis that was the transatlantic slave trade. If we see today drum as at the heart of ALBA, in the refounding of ALBA, and that women are at the core of this process, is a double blessing. What does it have with these danced memories? Well, what we try to do is to put on the stage the resistance that women in various spaces could have had against slavery, the ill treatment, and we should talk about what women did. And one of the main things has to do precisely with what we fictionally recreate in the ship, the transatlantic journey, and what happened during in the bottom of the ship for these Africans from with various languages from different nations. How come these people survived? Well, because of the heart, the beat of the heart. So I was thinking about this, and just I got it to the beating memories to live. For them to survive, the only element that could help them to survive was this spiritual aspect and the beating of their hearts. And we continue doing this percussion in the memory of our bodies through the drums that we play. Archimedes Blanco is the one responsible for playing the drums. So we have women. Women are there in this group. We are and a medium for us to convey our history. So this is extraordinary process. We are sorry, but we cannot hear what the person is saying because he's not using the microphone. So, the drums of water. Tatiana Gomez is precisely, she is responsible for this documentary, Drums of Water. So we need to take a note. Thank you so much. We have fulfilled our program, and this is the first day of these conferences. Now, thank you, sisters. Now we have to disseminate this message, so this message can reach much more women, so we can disseminate further our Afro descendants. Thank you very much. Well, lunch, logistical matter. Where are we going to have lunch? Very close. We are going to go up to, and there the attaché are going to help you and to take you there. And at 2:40, 3 o'clock, we are going to continue with the musical presentations in the Bolivar Square. Thank you very much.